Do you ever reach the end of the day, you might have revised many hours, 4 hours plus, and you just still don't feel productive? You don't feel like you're making any progress and it doesn't feel good. If so, then this video is for you. What I'm going to be teaching in today's video is how to feel productive in your revision, how to improve your revision, and how to use your time effectively. Now, this video is a request from one of my subscribers who commented asking for it. So please comment. I always want to make my channel around my subscribers and what they want. If you're new here, please leave a like and subscribe. Okay, so the first point that I'm going to make is that you need to measure your revision, right? You don't just magically necessarily get a feeling of feeling like, oh, I'm super productive, like I feel great. It comes with managing and measuring your revision, measuring your progress. There's a saying that I really like, which is what's measured is managed. And I completely subscribe to that. Increasingly, as I've gone through uni and I'm in my first year now and stuff compared to my GCSEs. So you need to be tracking your revision, right? Now, I always recommend using an Excel spreadsheet and tracking your individual test scores, tracking your topics and your subjects. The more you track, the better, as long as it doesn't like hold you back. But you need to be seeing, am I improving in my flashcards? Am I improving on the papers? Am I improving on the daily stuff that I do? And if you are, then you know you're in the right trajectory. You know you're making progress. And in that case, you've got to trust the process a little bit more. So it's really important to try and measure your revision. You can use apps like Flora to track the amount of time you're actually studying. I find that helpful just to see that I'm on the right track. The next point then is that you need to have what's called a bias towards action. This is really important. This means that throughout your day and in your revision, you've just got to be drawn towards just doing it. Right? So I recently wrote this in an email, and if you haven't subscribed to my email list, then there'll be a link in the description to do that. I send out free weekly emails. But basically what I was talking about is that when I revise nowadays, I don't usually just get up and then spend loads of time thinking, oh, I need to do this, and let me get out my checklist and let me just do all of this. Maybe I'm going to do this bit first. Oh wait, I need to research first how to revise. I don't do that. I just try and just get something done first. Okay, so just put on Flora, put on a timer, whatever. Make sure you put your phone away, by the way, and I just do it. So it could be just getting up, doing a maths past paper to start your revision off, or getting up, doing an English paper. Starting your revision with something like that, something focused, something meaningful, is just a really good thing to do, and it draws you straight towards action. You're feeling productive straight away. And what this also does is it means that afterwards you can kind of reorganize stuff. It just builds it makes you feel better about your productivity because you're doing action first and then you're organizing second, right? And this organization is crucial, but have a bias towards just doing things, okay? The person who is 70% effective in their revision but revises 5 hours is a lot better than the person who's 100% effective but revises 1 hour. I really believe that. So don't get held back by, oh, I need to do this all absolutely optimally and like I won't feel good if I don't do that. Just have a bias towards doing things. Now, my next point then, and the central part of this video, is that in your revision, to feel productive, to be productive, you need what I like to call like a range of different everything, basically. So what I mean by this is a range of subjects, a range of techniques, and a range of resources. Now I'll break down each of these individually. So in terms of range of subjects, I think that sometimes students get this a little bit wrong, or it wasn't necessarily what I liked. During my GCSEs, during the weekends, I often revised a little bit of every single subject. There would be days where I went through like 10 subjects in that day, obviously to varying degrees of effort, right? But I really liked going through a lot of subjects rather than just being stuck on one subject. And there may be times when you need to focus really hard on one subject, right? I'm not denying that. But having a range of subjects that you do in a day is really useful. So to illustrate this, for example, for my GCSEs, I'd do stuff like, in the morning, maybe I'd do a maths paper, and then I'd do some science Seneca, maybe chemistry and biology. Then maybe I'd do a bit of geography Seneca, and then maybe I'd do at the end of the day, like an English language question, and then I would do flashcards across all of my subjects. So I was kind of covering everything, and that also strengthened everything to get the top uniform grades, because I constantly was having to bounce between different subjects, and that really helped me. Deep focus is really important, and focusing on specific subjects is really important, especially if you need to make big progress. But don't neglect the importance of doing a range, right? So if you're doing A-levels, you should probably be covering each of your A-levels a day, right? I found that really helpful. I found that made me feel productive. And that doesn't mean 20 minutes of each subject, right? At times I was doing an hour and a half, 2 hours of each subject. If you want my free GCSE planner, where I just typed up exactly what I was doing during my GCSEs, then just click the link in the description and you can get that. And you can literally see how many subjects I was doing as well. So you also need a bias in terms of not bias, sorry, a range of techniques. So again, this is a similar thing. I was doing lots of different techniques, testing myself from loads of different methods. You're going to get bored. You're going to feel less productive if you're just doing the same thing all day, right? So past papers entirely the whole day, or I don't know, Seneca the whole day, YouTube the whole day, right? Spread it out and have a range again. So I would have a mixture of past papers and a mixture of STEM and essay-based writing. Then I would have Seneca. I'd have loads of different techniques, flashcards, all of that sort of thing. So use a range of techniques in your revision across the day, and that will level up your productivity. You'll be testing yourself from lots of different methods. And again, use a range of resources. So break up your revision. This really does make you feel more productive because it feels like you're covering more, and you are. Have some revision where you don't use a screen at all. So if you can, print out some stuff, have some revision on a screen, use resources like YouTube, flashcard making resources, and just use a range of resources, and that's going to really help you. Now, one resource I really recommend is the sponsor of today's video, which is Medley AI. Now, Medley have kindly sponsored this video, and the reason I love partnering with Medley is because they incorporate so much of what I always talk about is so important on the platform. So Medley is basically an AI-based platform where they have thousands of practice questions across a range of topics, and you can literally answer them in so many different formats, like I was saying. And one thing that they've introduced on this topic is Medley Shuffle. Medley Shuffle is a dynamic, AI-driven, adaptive kind of testing format where if you get questions right, it will give you harder questions, and it adapts it in real time for you. And then if you're really struggling, it will introduce learning. It will help teach it to you as well. So things like Medley Shuffle are really useful because, again, it's testing you across a range, and it's making sure that you are getting harder, right? You're actually testing your brain and training your brain, and that's going to make you feel more productive. As well, Medley mocks are still ongoing, so make sure to sign up to them. They are free. And yeah, so if that interests you, then click the link in the description. I really recommend Medley, and thank you for sponsoring this video, Medley. The next point then, and the final big point, is to incorporate wind down revision. So the student that feels less productive at the end of the day is probably the one that does revision during the day and then they spend the last 2 hours on their phone. Whereas the student that's going to, go to sleep thinking, okay, that was a really good day, is going to have what I call wind down revision. So at the end of my days, after I'd have, a lot of hard work, I'd try and do some lighter revision. This could be doing flashcards with my parents, or sometimes just reading a book. Often the book was related to a topic that I was doing, or it could just be kind of like, drawing a mind map, doing some light questions. It was always not involving a screen, but having something like revision at the end of the day that you don't have to be crazy focused for is also really relevant and really useful. And that's going to leave you on a much stronger note than if you just spent the last 2 hours on your phone. So yeah, mornings are great for revision, but I also think the evening is really good. And actually, when you revise before you go to sleep, and if you get a good sleep, you're more likely to remember that. I hope you found the video helpful then. I hope it was filled with loads of different random ideas that will help you feel productive at the end of the day. In short though, you need to make sure you're measuring, right? And trust that process. If you're improving, you've got to just trust the process. Everything doesn't always happen every single day. You're like, oh wow, I just doubled my grade. It doesn't work like that. It's hard to feel the progress when it's just small steps the whole way through. And then you also need to try and use a range of techniques across a range of subjects with a range of resources. Resources like Medley AI are really good, and I'd really recommend trying them out. And then as well, have some wind down revision. Revise throughout the day, space it out. And yeah, if that video was helpful, then please leave a like, please subscribe, hype up the video as well, and I can't wait to see you in the next one.